Hi, Mr. Massimo. How are you? You're very tiny. Another window.
Thank you, Director. We're live.
All right, fantastic. Beverly, I just I opened up. I'm streaming on my phone because I'm zooming on my phone. But if you can also let my computer in as well, then I can see everybody larger than the site.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I do want to join us. Actually, oh no. Okay. I'm just getting myself up to speed real quick. How's everybody doing today?
Good, and you?
I'm doing all right.
And just so you are aware, Director Emerson, we have Director Adams on virtual with us today. And we have Mr. John Taylor, our newly appointed board member who's joining in person.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Welcome to our CAP meeting. Is this your first meeting?
Thank you.
It is. He's actually here as I think a guest today. We're still awaiting, I think, some of the final paperwork and such from the county, but he's eager to get started, and we are so glad he's here today for this committee meeting. Jumping in all the way. So.
Well, the System Development Planning Committee is obviously the coolest committee there is. So it's all down here. Just kidding. The Finance Committee is pretty cool. They do good work. All right, we have a pretty short agenda today. I'm just going to pass this over to Ms. DeMassimo, and we'll go from there. Short and lively, and without further ado.
Short and lively. So a couple of items. There were reports to committee. Ms. Goodrich will be giving the planning update here shortly, but what I wanted to do was to also give you just a quick update on the project director administer that you've been working on. It kind of falls under this committee, and that's the mural project for our new wellness center. And I want you to know that we've really gotten more submissions. And on Friday evening at midnight, when we finally close that out, you and the rest of the selection panel will be getting the proposals that we received along with the recommendation from staff. And we are very excited to get that project deployed. So thank you again for your leadership on that. All right. We don't have any proposed board agenda consent items by committee. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Goodrich, who will walk through the planning update.
We're going to share screen in just a few.
So to discuss our CAP planning update this month, we want to talk about our CAP ridership in June and our performance indicators, which we track through passengers per hour, passengers per mile, revenue per passenger, revenue per mile, as well as on-time performance on our fare box recovery ratio. Each of those should be included in your packet from the ridership report slide. We would like to let everyone know that our ridership has increased year over year in June from 7.3 to 11.7. That is a pretty significant increase in ridership from one month to another. Part of what you're starting to see in some of our routes, especially some of our performing routes, is that with these significant month-over-month increases, is that we're starting to see where a few of our routes are starting to track closer to the pre-COVID key performance indicators in the passenger by hour category. This would be the Route 3B Augusta, the Route 14 Abercorn, and the Route 27 Waters. One part to see in our CAP ridership for June is that you will start to see some revenue hour changes from June of 2021 to June of 2022. So with the significant amount of increases that we had in ridership over the past quarter, You can also see where the decrease in revenue hours is also affecting some of our other routes in the system, yet we still are having an increase in overall ridership. And that would be the Barnard, the Route 28, Route 31, as well as the Route 12 Henry. With these numbers, one thing we do want to point out as well is that the ridership itself, being that it's a positive increase, is still a good sign as we move out of the pandemic and the current state of our economy today. I do want to point out as well that the on-time performance has increased a little bit of amount. It's been tracking close to about 59 to 60% in terms of on time. That would be versus an early performance or a late performance. And this month, for the month of June, our on-time performance actually increased to 63%. That's about a 4% increase overall for the month of June and ridership. What that kind of correlates to for us, if you're looking at the full ridership report, is when you get around to page 7, you will start to see where the cost per passenger is going to average out. By route, cost per passenger is tracked to the revenue hours in the current system. Revenue hours to number of passengers, we're starting to get at a cost of $7.63 for the Route 14 Hour-Horn. We're looking at $8.94 per passenger for the Route 31 Scaleway. We do still have some high costs in some of our lower performing routes, such as the 6 Crosstown or the 29 West Lynette. But one thing to think about when you look at your cost per passenger is also the assigned system hours that are going to each route in revenue. And that is where in the tables, when you see the system hours percentage, some of our higher performing routes actually have lower system hours as compared to other routes. And then some routes have higher system hours and they're therefore higher ridership. And that's where the 14 Hour-Horn is a good example of that. Due to the 14 Hour-Horn actually being the most in revenue hours of our entire system.
Is there a ratio that we could look at that would be able to help us understand because obviously if a bus is on the road more, it's going to be picking up more people. And I'm just trying to think, I almost feel like if we took I'm just shooting this into the wind, but like passenger hours divided by system hours, you know what I mean? And that would give some sort of identification of,
Well, I'm going to use the Route 4 Barnard as kind of an example of maybe where
Okay, please.
So for June between 2021 and June of 2022, we've actually decreased service hours on the Route 4 Barnard because right now we only have one peak vehicle on that route. So from a revenue hours perspective, we actually decreased service through the COVID pandemic on the Route 4 quite drastically. But at the same time, even with the decrease of 50%, or it's actually a little higher than that, in the Route 4 individually, we have a 44% increase in ridership. So, I mean, that's a bit of an extreme of itself, but then that kind of shows you what's going on system-wide across all of Chatham County, across all of Savannah, across Garden City, all of our routes, because the increase in ridership is gaining so much as we're coming out of the pandemic that we still have decreases in our overall system service, and yet we're still gaining ridership along the way.
You know, I think what could also be helpful maybe on this is to have how many system hours have June in 2021. How many system hours do we have in June of 2022?
So we could probably start to put that in the committee PowerPoint each month. That is located in the ridership report in It's actually the last page of data on page 11. And that's where you're starting to see the passengers count, the revenue hours count, the revenue hours change, and you're also seeing the passenger per hours. A big part of the key performance indicators of our KPIs has always been a passenger per hour statistic. So we talk about that the most. However, as we move through the fall, both our COATP and the master transit plan, we want to be looking at the revenue per passenger statistics, our revenue per mile statistics, as well as our fare box recovery ratios. On-time performance is a big part to that. We want to be reliable for our passengers and our citizens, especially while we're working out the pandemic and our current system hours. And we do still sort of want to point out that we're running less service at this moment than what we were prior to the pandemic. So having more ridership right now is a good thing. It's a good thing. But we still want to be able to look at these other statistics and start to kind of look at them a little more closely so that we can start to gain more ridership in the right way by also supporting the community appropriately.
My last thought is, for the last 2 years, we really haven't been competing with our pre-pandemic selves. We've been trying to like stay afloat. As we get closer to pre-pandemic level, I know there is a slide or there is a page in our board presentation, but it would be interesting to see what were these numbers for June of 2019, to sort of give a benchmark of like, was our previous reality. But again, this is always very helpful, and thank you. It's really coming back really strongly. I'm blown away by that. That's very cool.
Yes, I would say that's where, you know, when we talk about the Route 14, we talk about the 3B Augusta Avenue, we talk about the 31 and a couple of others. You know, some of these routes, even through the entirety of the pandemic, they're running the exact same service that they were in June of 2019. So then you really have an exact correlation to say X number of hours, X number of passengers, and oh, by the way, this is where we are now. I would use the Route 3B Augusta Avenue as probably the most consistent in that category. We have decreased service a slight bit in the Route 14 Abercorn, but the Route 3B, on the other hand, is running the exact same schedule. It has not changed, and it still is getting close to our pre-pandemic KPIs.
Great, thank you.
Cap planning items of interest that we are currently still working on for the month of June through to the month of July are going to be our amenities database update. We are also currently still working with Garden City and providing a cost analysis as well as joint government communication for service expansion and phases to Garden City. We are working through our Uber contract agreements and insurance, which we spoke about a little bit last month. We're still working through with those as we look into the route restoration side of how Uber as a contract comes into play with our current service model. Our fiscal year 22 FTA grant submissions are ongoing with the FTA, and we are working on getting those progressed in execution as soon as we possibly can. And then, of course, our CAP Master Transit plan is still under procurement evaluation review, but we are hoping for that to close soon.
A couple of quick updates on a couple of these matters, directors. The first is on the Garden City update. We actually met with Garden City today, and we are making tremendous progress there, and particularly looking along where we have existing service on State Route 21, but then adding in 3 new stops there to be able to serve those need service. And we're working through that now, but I think we're gonna see a Garden City implementation actually quite soon. I think on the bigger contracted insurance, we've largely worked through the insurance matters, but what we are doing is, I think, still trying to figure out some of the routing schedule. So that's on our side, not so much on Uber at this point. Grant submissions, I just wanted to generally say, one of the things that we are very focused on is not applying for any grant that comes along, but applying for the grants that really make sense and fit in well with what our scope is of what we're accomplishing here and make sense for the services that we provide. One thing you're going to start to hear me talk more and more about is what I call the 4 business lines. So fixed route obviously is an existing business line for us. Paratransit is an existing business line for us. The ferries and dot services is a different business line for us. And then the 4th will be the opportunities that may come about that can be supported by grant submissions and other partnerships around express bus or that kind of service that gets people to and from jobs, very much at point A to point B, a certain time of day. And it obviously doesn't run in the same fashion that some of our other business lines do, but I think it's a tremendous growth opportunity for us in addition to literal service area expansions like the Garden City update and potential Portwood Port that's also we're in discussions on. So it's a really promising future that we have ahead of us now. On the CAT Master Transit Comp Plan, our selection committee met last week and shortlisted 3 teams, 3 firms, teams that were they felt most responsive to and gave us the most of what we were looking for in the proposals. We will be interviewing those 3 teams on the 22nd, and after that interview is concluded, the selection panel and staff will be making a recommendation to the board of the recommendation for that procurement. So that means we'll be getting started on the master transit plan and implementation strategy very soon in a way that is being done to accomplish it along with the COA TDP and along with the zero emissions bus plan. We're making sure that we're leveraging all those efforts against each other. For example, common things like public outreach that are in every plan need to be coordinated in a way that makes sense and gets the most value out of that activity. And there are other pieces. We're making sure that we're doing this efficiently, effectively, we're reducing any kind of overlap, redundancy, and so forth. That might be confusing even to the public as we go through the conduct of all those studies. And then I know there's a note up here about we're hiring. We are actively in the process for the chief planning and infrastructure development officer. And we are interviewing now for scheduler and interviewing now for a senior planner project manager and a senior planner systems manager. So once we get these positions filled, we really are starting to, under this reorganization, really fill back out the CAT team with a strong delivery focus. So it's a great time to be a CAT. Any questions on any of those items?
Yes, partially. John, if you're still in the room, I believe amenities means bus stops. Am I right?
Yes.
Cool. And also, John, if you do have any questions on any of this, feel free to jump in.
Okay.
I always have questions.
And they're the best questions.
Thank you. I try. That's all really encouraging. Honestly, if we were to get like half of this stuff done, that would be a big change for just, I think we're able to do for our riders. So I'm really encouraged to hear that, especially Garden City, especially the amenities update, and the CAT master plan. And Very cool. Director Adams, do you have any questions?
No, sir, I'm good.
All right, let's keep going.
One thing I would say, Director, I want to be super clear. Don't worry about only getting half of it done. We're going to get it all done.
All right, that's Z2.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. To move on to the amenities database update, directors, we just would like to let you all know that staff has been working across multiple departments to really provide a 2022 comprehensive update for all amenities. That is a discussion in the maintenance area for our amenities crew, who are those that provide maintenance to our bus stops themselves, and the facilities requests and focus that come through for the amenities team. We've had a couple of meetings in the last week or two between planning and communications regarding the upcoming mural art implementation, which is sort of something new that was passed as a board policy earlier this year. So we've been working internally on that to get the ball rolling on how to make that easier for people to find out about our bus stops and the murals that they may be interested in. And then also we're working through with operations to make sure that as we talk about the system changes such as Garden City, we're locating the appropriate bus stops in places that are safe for our operations to conduct our services and to meet both ADA for those with disabilities, but then also to be accessible for everyone to follow.
Any other questions, directors? We also have an update on communications. Ariella, is there anything, I know I jumped in because I'm excited about the mural there, but are there any other things on the communication stats or background activities that you want to share?
I'm thinking video thing. Hello, directors. So Ms. Faye did touch on the one on getting submissions, and we are excited to see that come to our see all that process going on. We just want you to know that the marketing initiative is really heavy on social media. I don't know if you guys have seen our routine videos. We just came out with our second part, but that's really gaining good ground on social media. We also are working on revamping our website. We recently learned that we actually had a budget for that. So we are working on the 3 quotes. We have 2 in so far. They're going to be local companies. And 1 quote is from left and South Carolina, but local surrounding companies. But we are working on that. And the bus shelter project is something that's actually mentioned. Something else we are actively looking into.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
We don't have any other things under old or new business, but we have some things under other committee business. Director, if you'd like for me to present those.
Please do.
So there will be an item on the Infinity SQL server client access licenses. This is you'll see when you read the agenda item, this is an item that was previously handled on an internal basis. It needs to come before the board. It is a multi-year approval. So what we're going to be doing is bringing it for you for both your taking what was the first year that's already been underway and approving that, as well as approving the subsequent multi-year. It's a 3-year total contract, but a very standard client access licenses is required in order for us to do our business with Microsoft and such. On the FY 2023 active membership renewal, That is a standard annual renewal for us to participate in APTA. One of the things that Ms. Dumas has done is has pulled together the information on all the benefits that accrue to us through our APTA membership, and she'll be we'll include that in the materials that go to you. She'll be sharing that with you so that you have that as background to your consideration of that APTA membership renewal. And then two other matters that are pending receipt of the proposals of the evaluator scoring, one of which we discussed in the reports today. The first, though, is the CAO search recruitment service. I know that when you saw your snapshot last week, you saw that the individual that we had made offer to and selected and was en route here for the CAO position from Maryland had a health emergency arise in their family that is making their relocation not possible at this time. And so we're back out to recruit for the CAO position. So we need, given the large number of recruitments that we have ongoing right now, we needed some extra support in that service area. So we're going to be bringing a proposal to you to approve to help us out with that CAO recruitment, similar to what we did with the COO. And then on the master transit plan contract, I mentioned to you earlier that we've shortlisted 3 firms. They'll be interviewing on the 22nd. The committee will vote that day, and so we'll be bringing forward the recommendation to you of who's the recommended proposer for that. So a lot of great activity coming up. We're busy at CAT, and I just appreciate all of your service and supporting us in all these important business matters. Any other questions?
I don't have any other questions, but I do know that what were you going to say?
No, I see Director Adams was raising his hand.
He's blocked up. Yeah.
I have one question about the wall art murals. Where would that be displayed at?
Which one, sir? Are you talking about the one for the wellness center?
Yes.
The one for the wellness center, when you walk in the door of the wellness center, I know it's been closed for a while, Director Adams, and you might not have been back there, but when you walk in the door of the wellness center, there is an expanse of wall immediately on your right when you come in the door, that is available for this purpose. And you may recall that Parker's is sponsoring it. They're out with the corporate sponsorship for the award that is being given to the successful artist. And then we're going to also be handling and supporting the materials that are needed for them to complete the project upon their selection.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
It's going to say Kenneth Adams, best commissioner ever.
You might have some arguments about that.
I see no problem with that. I think Beverly had announced this, but the master will be over at the Savannah Downtown Business Association tomorrow at 11:30. I believe it's at 11:30.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. So if y'all come out, I guess you, Director Adams, and Mr. John Taylor. Yeah, if you guys are able to come out, that should be fun. And there's always good food.
So true.
Well, we're gonna wow them with CAT tomorrow. So yeah, I think it's a not to be missed event myself.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think we've got a lot of tickets sold and reservations already hooked up.
Well, we don't have any additional items. That's all of our business for today, Director Edmondson.
All right. Well, thank you, John, for joining us. We're all looking forward to your paperwork through and official board member status. It's very exciting. I guess that's all I've got. Other than that, I hope you guys definitely at the next meeting we've got. Thank you. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Have a good day.
Wow.